The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Stay healthy all year long and protect yourself, your loved ones, and your community by getting vaccinated against COVID-19. COVID-19 vaccines are safe, effective, and free, and approved for everyone over the age of 5. Wear a mask outdoors in crowds and indoor settings, and lay low or get tested before visiting family and friends or attending events. To get more tips, schedule your vaccine, or get tested, visit ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine. That's ramseycounty.us/COVID vaccine.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 59, Wednesday sunny with a high near 90, and Thursday a chance for thunderstorms with a high around 89. Come visit the award-winning Hazel's Northeast in Minneapolis for breakfast, lunch, dinner, or weekend brunch. For breakfast, try the slow-cooked brisket hash, hippie cakes, and meat waffle, while for lunch, enjoy favorites like the veggie burger or beet salad. Located off 29th and Johnson and at hazelsnetogo.com.
Portions of Native Roots Radio may be pre-recorded.
It's a good day to be Indigenous. Get up, stand up.
They are going to become more brutal.
Couldn't cut, hitting cut again.
Because all the hippies were trying to be Indians anyway.
They're going to become more repressive because it's a matter of dollars and their illusionary concepts of power.
Hey, Victor.
We must live in balance with the earth.
And also with recent happenings at Wounded Knee.
I am awake.
Welcome to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Wakanja Hade. Hey, Kadagi to all my friends and relatives in 4 directions. You are listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and I'm your host, Robert Pilot, and we discuss local and national Native news and events. And as you know, Wendy, Native issues are human issues, and human issues are Native issues.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Native Roots Trading Post. We will be at the Minnesota State Fair this year, starting Thursday, August 25th through Monday, September 5th. We're also open for 2 more days at 700 Nicollet Mall in downtown Minneapolis. We'll be there on Wednesday and Thursday, the 29th and 30th, and then we'll be closed until September. So come on down and get your last minute stuff.
Well, we want to talk a little bit. We got Ogimaa in the studio here, and with her little baby, and Jace are here, and we want to talk a little bit about what happened today, Wendy, at the Minwakan Sioux area and their place. And Ogimaa, you were one of the stars of the show. Let's talk a little bit about that today.
Yeah, hi everybody. I'm Ogimaa Ganuakwe Animbuju, and I was a speaker, or I suppose as part of a panel today at the Indigenous and Media Roundtable put on by MPR and some other organizations, including We Are Still Here Minnesota, which is handled by Ramona Keto Stately, who's the mother to rapper Keto, who was also on the panel with me, as well as Jada Gray Eagle, who is a photojournalist for the Sahan Journal here in the Twin Cities. So the event was it was centered on changing the narrative in media of Native people in the state of Minnesota and beyond. So we know there's this dominant media narrative all over, but talking about and having different media personnels from students all the way up to people who are working with MPR now or people from other organizations come in and be able to talk about and ask questions and hear advice on how to report on Native people and how to work within Native people and how to frame their narratives was really, really powerful.
It was interesting too. Wendy, Ogimaa is a celebrity amongst a lot of radio personalities and people that work in the radio, and it was great to see. And really, we're proud of her, and because of our relationship and how much we've grown because of her and with her. And not only her family, but our radio show all across Turtle Island. So it was really pretty humbling to see all these people seeking out this information from Ogimaa.
Yeah, I'm sure it was great. Sorry I missed it.
NPR is going to be distributing it. From my understanding, I don't know how long it's going to take, but they did do video and audio recording of the entire program. So I do believe that will be distributed at a later date. And if I have more information about that in the near future, I will be sure to let everybody know so you can check it out. But it really was a great event, and I'm humbled myself for having been asked to speak at it.
Yeah, and the Lieutenant Governor stopped there and had a awesome, 10, 15-minute speech that I wish I would have recorded because it just hit home on all the facets. And you want to hear something funny too, Wendy? She said she's waiting for her residual, and it took me a second to figure out what she was talking about, but she was waiting for her residual checks from Rutherford Falls because the lady had long dingly earrings that's the star of Rutherford Falls, and she falls in love with the NPR podcast guy, and it's like, wow, that's right. Peggy Flanagan's husband used to work for NPR. I was like, wow.
That's funny. So they stole her life.
She's waiting for the check. It was like, oh my gosh, she's right.
Wow.
That was a humorous part of her speech, but for sure the rest of the speech was as in true Peggy Flanagan style, littered with humor, but also it was intensely powerful, the speech that she gave, and it was wonderful to have her on. She wasn't a part of the program. She just she was able to drop in and give that speech for us. So it was really just, all in all, it was a fantastic situation.
Well, something like this, Ogimaa and Wendy, I feel like whenever Native Roots Radio is mentioned in the same breath of Native media, I get really proud of the work that us three have been doing for so many years now. That really pays off, and it was really interesting that there's so many people that know about our show and know who we are. That always blows my mind, but it's also very humbling too, in a good way. And Peggy gave us a shout out too.
Nice.
Yes.
That's fantastic. That's great. So was it more geared toward how the media could do a better job reporting on Indian or Native American issues, or did it talk about like the negativity in the past about how things used to be reported?
Absolutely. That was something that a lot of the veteran media producers, including David Kenoyer, who was helping to host and kind of lead the presentations along, talked about. And David Kenora, if you didn't tune into Native Roots Radio yesterday, joined us yesterday and described himself yesterday as well as today as a recovering TV reporter. And he talked about, just before the meeting, he had told me that a big part of the reason why he left the mainstream TV reporting for a different organization was because he felt he could not be his true authentic self and couldn't share the story in the way that he needed to. So he switched and moved over to nonprofit media.
Well, that was really interesting too, Wendy and Ogimaa. Leah Lim spoke in the beginning while I was on break from my other duties, and I got to speak after her, and she touched on that, Ogimaa, a little bit about what hat is she wearing when she is reporting news. And there's so many different hats Ogimaa probably has, and I know me, I'm just an emotional. I mean, I was very tearful and emotional when I was interviewing, the crew, the 6 different people of Rutherford Falls, just because it's like, all these like inside jokes are there and all these things that natives would understand, and also the very humor for mainstream. And it was just a prideful moment because we're used to being in Hollywood savages and everyone wearing the same clothes no matter what part of the country you're from. So it's inspiring. And what I had to say too was that, when I look how far we've come as Native people, I'm very happy, and I get sad when I think of how far we have to go. So I have to really balance that. And Leah mentioned something to that effect too.
Yeah, Leah mentioned something to that effect as well. And a lot of people that were there had mentioned that there's this momentum that's happening right now with Native narratives being told in the mainstream media. And that of all things that we needed to take away was that we needed to not lose that momentum.
Yeah, that's a good question though, Wendy, because I think to answer your question, if I could, Ogimaa, is that I think they talked about both things.
Mm-hmm.
We're coming from different eras where Native voices were only brought up from non-Native people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yes.
so yeah, it was a great day. Really beautiful place. And when you come back, Wendy, we're gonna have to go to Milwaukee Sioux just to see that building and the great museum or the great store they have there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I couldn't buy anything because we have a lot of stuff at our store, so I'd be just repeating. That's great. So, hey, great day. Well, who do we have up next to Ogimaa?
Up next, we have reporters Antonia Gonzales and Rhonda Lavaldo from National Native News.
I'm excited, and they're got a few things to report, and we're going to hand over the show to them. So that's going to be fun. All right, you're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and we'll be right back after this short break.
Stay with us.
J&S Bean Factory is a Native-owned, community-supported, cozy, artsy coffee shop which offers roasted on-site beans, live music, and baked goods. Relax in the beautiful outside patio. City Pages writes, voted top 10 coffee shops. Tucked into a quiet corner of St. Paul's Highland Park neighborhood, this coffee shop roasts beans on-site from the best coffee-growing countries in the world. Located at 1518 Randolph Avenue, St. Paul. The good stuff.
I heard sex trafficking happens a lot in Indian country. What is that?
Here are some of the real reasons why sex trafficking happens in Indian country. Unequal gender roles that were forced on us by colonization. Communities don't have enough resources. Silence around domestic and sexual violence. Lack of attention and justice for missing and murdered Indigenous people. There's a lot of behavior that keeps our communities out of balance. These are just a few true reasons why Native communities are targeted by traffickers. When these acts of violence happen in our communities, it opens us all up for exploitation.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Course Breaks helps provide free digital textbooks to college students in underserved communities. But how does it work? Course Breaks works with a network of publishers that provide free digital textbooks to students with sponsorships covering the cost. These textbooks have been used in thousands of colleges and universities. And Course Breaks is currently being offered in all tribal colleges and universities and historically Black colleges and universities. To discuss a corporate or private contribution, visit coursebreaks.com.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
You're listening to Native Roots Radio. This is Spirit from Reservation Dogs. Get up and listen.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by MN350, a grassroots organization fighting for climate justice.
Why does that always crack me up? Oh my gosh. Reservation Dogs is coming up soon here, and I guess August 2nd or 3rd is when it's going to come out.
August 3rd,
Yeah,
new season.
we're totally excited. We've been deep diving on Rutherford Falls, but hey, we ever once in a while we like to do this, Ogimaa and Wendy. We like to hand over the show to the real professionals and sit back. And so, without any further ado, who do we have today, Ogimaa?
Yes, today we have Rhonda Lavaldo and Antonia Gonzales, reporters for National Native News, and they're here with some mid-year updates for us from the National Congress of American Indians.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us and letting us be on the show today. Yes, my name is Antonia Gonzales. I'm a proud citizen of the Navajo Nation. I'm the anchor and producer of National Native News. I'm also a correspondent for New Mexico PBS, and I'm being joined tonight by Rhonda Lavaldo, who's one of our contributors to National Native News. She also has her own radio show, and she's a tribal college instructor. And we were in Anchorage, Alaska for the National Congress of American Indians Mid-Year Conference, which was the first conference they've had held in person since the start of COVID-19. And the theme was Thinking Beyond Self-Determination. Tribal leaders from across the country were there. They were talking about a lot of top issues facing their communities. Alaska is home to nearly half of the more than 570 federally recognized tribes in the United States. So the conference was largely influenced by the Alaska region. There was a packed agenda and included a youth track, sessions that were tailored to developing youth leaders. And we were there, Rhonda and I were there. I hosted a live 1-hour broadcast on urban native radio station KNBA, which is owned and operated by our parent company, Quantic Broadcast Corporation. And we focused on climate and environmental issues. Our shows one day covered traditional knowledge, policy, and women in science. And beyond our shows, there was just so many great people there, so much information, and definitely it was a great chance to get together. And we were COVID-19 safe. We took precautions as well. So, luckily we're healthy and glad to be here. And I'll let Rhonda introduce herself. Rhonda.
Hi, nice to be here. I'm Rhonda Lavaldo, one of the reporters for Antonia. I also host Native Spirit in Kansas City on Sundays, and then I teach at Haskell Indian Nations University.
And Rhonda, share a little bit. You help volunteer for our 1-hour live broadcast. It's a special program. Usually I host this show, Alaska's Native Voice, which I created more than 10 years ago, which is aired usually in October during the Alaska Federation of Natives annual convention. And it's a 1-hour talk program. We have guests on. And then we also have snippets of attendees. And so we did the same thing for the National Congress of American Indians Convention. A longtime producer and also NNN contributor Emily Schwing was helping produce the show. And Rhonda was there to volunteer and helped us with many tasks. Rhonda, give us your impression. We went together to Anchorage back in December. So this was your second time. And I've been going, I can't even count, more than 16 years I've been going up to Alaska. So I feel like it's my second home. Rhonda, what was your first impression?
It seemed like a lot of people were really excited to be in person and just see one another. But there was a lot of concerns that they felt they need to be addressed. One, which was really important, is climate change. And especially in Alaska, you can tell, it was warm. It wasn't cold, and you could see the concerns of people because there was a fire going on as well in Alaska, and they were addressing those issues. But also not just that, but the cost of gasoline. And so, we've talked with elders who are dealing with their costs. They're paying over $17 a gallon. And I remember I talked to one of those elders and I asked her, how do you afford that? And she's like, we just have to, and it's not just for cars, it's for, putting in their boats, because that's how they get their food. They live off the land. And so they have to absorb those costs and trying to provide for their families. And that just is, you can see the impact.
And we did get a chance to talk to people at the convention from not only all over Alaska, but from tribes from the lower 48. There were people talking about similar issues. And here in New Mexico in the Southwest, we've been seeing a lot of fires as well. We got a chance to talk to some hunters who talked about climate change and some of the things they're seeing when they're out there in Alaska. They were reporting from space. No, I'm just kidding. We're having a little thing with the audio, but yeah, it was really interesting, as well as just to see being there in the summer, because usually I'm there during the colder months. And so I forgot how awesome it really is in the summer to be in Alaska and just have that sunshine, and definitely a place for people who love the outdoors. I think one time, the first day we got there, it was like 2 a.m. and I'm like, I'm really tired all of a sudden. Oh, it's 2 a.m. We should go to bed. But let's see if we have that queued up.
No.
No? Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. So Rhonda, we also had a chance to talk to some other people about not only climate change, but just a variety of different issues facing their communities. The youth track, we heard from young people who were there who were taking part. The NCAI convention on the first day on Sunday had a full day just devoted to Native young people, and they have a lot of different issues they're working on, learning about policy, learning about becoming youth leaders, youth development. There's also, we spoke to a young man who was concerned about some of the lawsuits and challenges happening in tribal communities, including he was really interested in a case. This was his first time to the NCAI convention. He was really interested in a case involving a Native young person and being able to wear their traditional, whether it's a beaded cap or a medallion or an eagle feather to graduation, and a lawsuit that was coming up. And we already see that. I mean, it's 2022 and we're seeing that today still. And we have stories on the news all the time about students having their hair cut at public school. And so that was interesting, hearing from youth about some of the issues they were concerned about. Rhonda?
Yeah, that was, really interesting to hear from our youth and being motivated to becoming a leader and wanting to become involved in law. So that was inspiring to me. And one of the other things with our youth is people were talking about wanting to engage the youth and just speaking with elders one-on-one, meeting with elders so that they can learn directly from them their knowledge and pass that on.
Well, it looks like we have our clip up. Let's hear back. And we were talking about climate change, and that was a top issue at NCAI. We got a chance to talk to some hunters and seeing some of the things that they've been seeing when they're out there in Alaska. And Emily Schwing got a chance to catch up with a group of hunters.
I'm Tom Solano from Bear Commission. Pretty much our elders taught us, to watch our weather and our ice.
I am Elmer Chita III. I am from Brevet Commission, which is 80 miles northwest of Nome. So we just got done doing a spring harvest, catching bearded seals and walrus. So that was a successful year for us. Kind of seems like Past couple years, we've been having these bad, strong north winds, and our ice just takes off pretty fast.
The climate change, it take a big impact on us because guys have to hunt earlier, and basically we depend on the ice for spring harvest, for walrus and bearded seals.
Respect the land and the animals you're hunting. Make sure you just get enough for yourself and your family. Don't overhunt.
Always respect the land and the animals. Don't take more of what you need. And if you do, give it out to the families that don't have any hunters. So we always try to share what we get.
And that was a group of hunters at the National Congress of American Indians mid-year in Anchorage, Alaska, from Alaska, talking about some of the effects they see from climate change, having to go hunting earlier, seeing changes in the environment. And I think one thing that stuck out to me as well is just looking and talking about not taking more than you need. And that's definitely a traditional Native value we hear from tribes across the country, not just in Alaska. Even on your program, you hear from a lot of water protectors about issues that are happening, there in Minnesota that I'm sure they can connect to what the hunters were saying. We had a story on the news recently about the wild rice in decline and some farmers trying to figure out how to help with that and turning to another traditional crop that was more similar to corn. And so I think those are definitely things that tribes across the country, they come to these meetings to also learn and get information, not only from just the speakers who are up there at the podium, but also from one another. And so a hunter from Alaska could definitely, I'm sure, connect and have some information from tribes from the lower 48.
Hey, let's do some more of this. We'll be right back after this short break. You're listening to Native Radio. I'm awake.
Stay with us.
Hey, Wendy, what are we doing for dinner after the show?
How about we go to Jay Selby's on
I'm trying to run the banners from my phone. I'm trying to run the banners from my phone, but I can't
environmentally
sustainable.
I'm getting their spot on vegan
So
Big
just make
Mac.
sure I'm on mute in the background and I can listen from the
and they
cues.
deliver within a 5-mile radius, or you can call them at 651-222-3263 or visit jselbys.com.
Well, you sold me one. Let's go order at Jay Selby's tonight.
I'm hungry.
Navigating COVID while protecting yourself can be difficult. Fortunately, there's a hotline you can call with any questions. The Department of Indian Work St. Paul partnered with the Minnesota Department of Health to open the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline. They provide information on vaccines, booster shots, and testing sites. Right now, booster shots are available to anyone over the age of 18 for those who are eligible. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline can also help with housing, food, medical, and educational support. If you or someone you know has questions about COVID-19, vaccinations, booster shots, or testing, please call 651-304-9986. Again, the number is 651-304-9986. The Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline is open for calls Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Call the Twin Cities American Indian COVID-19 hotline at 651-304-9986.
Hey, Minnesota, this is Tom Hartman. Catch me during your lunchtime on AM 950 from 11 to 2. Find more information and the live stream at am950radio.com.
Have you heard about the District Edina? Well, if you haven't, you're in for a treat. The District Edina is the Twin Cities' newest and most exciting destination for all things home design and remodeling. If you're looking for flooring or window treatments, furnishings, a builder to handle a remodel or an addition, kitchen or bath work, or even original fine art, you will find it at the District Edina. The District Edina, 7777 Washington Avenue South, and online at, wait for it, thedistrictedina.com.
You can't go through a day without hearing about healthcare reform. St. Paul Corner Drug is here to help you navigate the ever-changing healthcare landscape. We are your advocate in getting much-needed prescription medication covered under your insurance plan. Need to choose a different plan? There is no reason to feel like you are drowning in the system. St. Paul Corner Drug can make simple work out of finding you a plan that best suits your needs. You can rest assured at St. Paul Corner Drug, pharmacy the way it should be.
Hi, I'm Scott Shambot from Shambot Family Dentistry. We're the fear-free, shame-free dental office. We know dental anxiety and dental phobia are real. We'll take the time to get to know you and give you what you need to be comfortable at all times. We offer free nitrous oxide laughing gas and have high-tech options to help you feel calm and relaxed during your appointments. We'll help you get through every appointment in the most pain-free way possible. If you're having a dental emergency, we'll try and get you in the same day you call because we don't like to see anyone in pain. As my daughter Rachel says,
if you don't see my dad, please see another dentist. Take care of your teeth because they're the only ones you get.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. I've been going to Shambot Family Dentistry for years. They get me in last minute when I'm in pain and make regular checkups easy and comfortable.
Shambot Family Dentistry in Hopkins and St. Paul. Find them online at shamblotfamilydentistry.com or call 1-800-FIX-MY-TEETH.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for clear skies tonight with a low around 59, Wednesday sunny with a high near 90, and Thursday a chance for thunderstorms with a high around 89.
It's Angela Warner from Warner Stellian here, letting you know that this is it. Our lowest prices of the season with 5% savings you won't find anywhere else on refrigerators, washers and dryers, and free dishwasher installation too. Shop your local Warner Stellian today.
Hi, I'm Jane Fonda, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio.
And we're back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Well, Ogimaa, we're having a special show here. Let's introduce the guests again and get right to it.
Yes, today we have Antonia Gonzales and Rhonda Lavaldo from National Native News reporting on their coverage from the National Congress of American Indians mid-year meeting and first in-person summit since COVID-19.
Well, thank you for letting us be on your program tonight and sharing some of the stuff we had at NCAI. We have so much to share that we don't have enough time. And that was our problem, too, at the convention for a broadcast, because as broadcasters, you think, oh, my gosh, an hour. But then we keep telling the guests, no, like it'll go by so fast. You'll maybe get 2 words and then the program will be over. But we just had such a great time talking to people and learning and gathering information. And also, there's a lot of issues that are overlooked that are not on mainstream media for sure, that are not being covered as they should be. A lot of what we're seeing in national news has to do with politics and other stuff that people are talking about. But there's sections of people who are coming from all over Indian country and go to these conventions and they put resolutions, they work on these issues, not just, a week, but all year round. And one of those issues that's overlooked is disabilities and Native people with disabilities, whether, you're in a wheelchair or, you have some seeing disabilities, hearing disabilities, but that's an issue. Rhonda Lavaldo got to speak with Joseph Ray from Laguna. Rhonda, why don't you tell us a little bit about Joe?
Yes, it's Jonathan Ray, and he's from the Pueblo of Laguna. And he's taken on this issue at so many NCAIs. He's part of their disability committee, making sure their issues are addressed. And, I think myself, I didn't realize how bad it is that when you're disabled, some of the things you don't realize that it's hard to do. So I recently pulled my hamstring and I had to use a walker. And I didn't realize the concrete on the sidewalks, uneven, and stairs and all sorts of things that you can't figure out, that you don't realize when you're able to do these things. And so he takes it on, talking about disabilities and how they affect Native people, especially within their own communities that are not ADA equipped.
Let's hear what he had to say.
I'm here as the NCAI Disability Subcommittee Chairperson. So I'm here to hear from Alaskans, uh, Alaska Natives with disabilities if they come to the committee, and to speak to tribal leaders about issues that Alaska Natives, American Indians face in our communities around disability. I attended the voting session this morning, and ADA access at our polling places is one of my key issues that I always make sure to ensure that our community, our leaders are aware of that ADA access for people with mobility impairments. So at my home of Laguna, we have 6 polling sites, and each of them have various challenges to access, physical access to the door, to getting in the door. There's many other issues, of course, but the main one I focus on is the physical access. And in some of the villages, again, there's steps in and out. The parking lots are so uneven. The pavement is old and cracked, and the wheelchairs, the micro wheels can get stuck in there and people can fall. So issues like that I'm concerned about. Also, the other issues of access for people with visual impairments, people who are deaf, all the other sensory impairments that many times tribal people don't even, tribal leaders or, excuse me, poll workers don't think about. So that's another issue I'm working on. So with I was injured in 1980. I was in a car accident, and I acquired a spinal cord injury. But I was so fortunate in my post-injury hospitalization and rehabilitation, physical rehabilitation. I got connected with in Albuquerque with the local paralyzed veterans group, and they had a outdoor program, I guess you could say, or a recreation program that included basketball. And then it kind of veered towards hardcore competitive basketball. So I got recruited right there at the hospital. The vets learned the level of injury I had, which allowed me to have good upper body strength. So they came after me to be on the basketball team. I remember that, and it was funny. Oh, you know how to play basketball, right? You played at your high school varsity or AB or what? I was like, oh yeah, sure. Yeah, right. I lied. But, they soon found out once I was on the court, that I was lying. So again, but over time I developed, and that to this day, 35 years later, those skills and the knowledge that I acquired there, that life isn't easy, that you have to maintain your strength as a paraplegic.
And that was Mr. Ray talking about some of the things that he's an advocate, a longtime advocate for the disabled community and challenges. But he went out all the way to Alaska on his own, and just always smiling, great outlook. And I think a lot of that has to do with your outlook as well. And those are some of the issues that, often don't get talked about all the time. And so, it was really great to hear from him. Rhonda, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, he's great. I hadn't seen him in 2.5 years, and so I know he was really excited to be up there addressing his issues, especially with the elections coming up.
And we got a chance to talk to another person about voting. Ruth Miller is a youth advocate, and she's one of the people who's always on the grassroots level on the front lines. Let's hear what she had to say about voting.
Strategy and direct action, but inside strategy is just as important. If I have the privilege of time and energy, then I know that my role, particularly personally as a mixed race Native youth who's achieved higher education, is to translate, to spend my time and my resources being in these spaces to make sure that our stories are translated into them so that we can hear our languages being spoken in these exclusive halls of power, but also to make sure that our people are being brought in an accessible way so that we can also participate in decision making. And election strategy is just the same. It's that yes, we know that we are in a broken system, and we will be everywhere. We will be ubiquitous. We'll be pervasive. We'll be persistent within that system to make sure that our needs are heard. So when we engage in that act of translating, we are also exposing the ways that the system has historically not worked for us and the ways that it can evolve and change. We don't have the luxury to give up on elections. We don't have the luxury to give up on elected officials. But what we can do is make sure that our voices are heard through our vote, and even maybe more importantly than voting is make sure that you're voting for people you believe in or consider running for office yourself. Getting more and more Native elected leaders into office is so crucial, not just through our tribal governance structures, but let's see Native women, particularly Native Two-Spirit siblings, in positions of power within the state of Alaska. That's how we'll see real effective change. And until then, make sure you're getting out the vote. Our elders are actually Alaska state super voters. It's unbelievable to see the voting representation, particularly from rural communities, because our elders understand that it is one of the ways that has been given to us to be engaged, to be involved, and to make sure that we are participating in all of our governance structures.
And that was Ruth Miller, a youth advocate at the NCAI convention, talking about the power of voting. A lot of the grassroots work is done, by Native young people and women, Native young women. And so it was really interesting hearing what she had to say. Rhonda, I know we have to go to break here in a minute, but what were your thoughts listening to Ruth?
I know they did that one session where it was entirely on getting out the Native vote and involving youth. So seeing them so inspired to want to help and change the narrative, we've seen that happen during the presidential election in Arizona, the effect that the Native vote had on that election. So it was really great to see all those young people participating in that workshop.
And we know the power of the Native vote. We've seen in past elections across the country how Native people can swing elections. And so it was really interesting talking to people about, some of the primaries have already passed, but the importance of voting at all of the elections and just not when there's a presidential race, because some of these people, are county officials, are city officials, and definitely hearing about her wanting more Native people and Native women in office.
Wow, you guys, I can't say how thankful we are to have you guys come in and do this awesome report for our people all over Turtle Island here. Wendy, that was so awesome. And Ogimaa, we really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And give a shout out to how can people hear you guys and where can we hear you on your own shows?
Yep, you can find me at nativenews.net Monday through Friday, and our show Alaska's Native Voice is archived, so you can hear those shows we produced at NCAI, and you can find my television work at New Mexico in Focus on New Mexico PBS. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we'll see you guys soon. Up next, our Sacred Animal section with Wendy. You're listening to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake.
Stay with us.
College textbooks have never been more expensive. In fact, textbook costs can make college unaffordable to many prospective students. That's especially true for Native Americans. But a new initiative called Course Breaks wants to help with textbook costs for Native American students. Course Breaks partners with book publishers and tribal colleges and universities to provide free textbooks. But Course Breaks needs your help to continue their mission. Become a donor to help Indigenous students continue their education. To discuss a corporate or private contribution, visit coursebreaks.com.
When we heal from our traumas,
when we face our fears,
let go of our addictions,
when we relearn our values,
when we live our teachings,
respecting our elders,
cherishing and honoring our children,
when we honor and take care of our spirit,
there will be no room left for sexual violence.
Sponsored by the Minnesota Indian Women's Sexual Assault Coalition.
Hey, Ogimaa, I've been hearing a lot about this term, climate justice. What is that?
Climate justice is recognizing that the negative impacts of climate change don't affect all people equally. It also means transitioning from a fossil fuel-based economy to a more sustainable future. MN350 is one of the groups that's pushing for this transition to protect our futures. You can even get involved too.
That's great, especially since I'm concerned about pipeline projects like Line 3. How can I help MN350?
Just find them on Facebook or visit mn350.org.
Minnesota has the only original wolf population in the continental United States, and 80% of Minnesotans believe the wolf should be protected. Howling for Wolves is asking Minnesotans to respect our true wildlife manager, the wolf. Their survival is critical to our ecosystems, our communities, and even our economy. As highly intelligent animals with strong social bonds, Minnesota wolves deserve to be protected and admired. Learn more at howlingforwolves.org. Let's live and let howl.
This is Winona LaDuke of Honor the Earth, and you're listening to Native Roots Radio. I'm Awake.
Welcome back to Native Roots Radio presents I'm Awake, and this is Robert Pilot.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Howling for Wolves, protecting wolves for future generations.
Too many people know how to hit the button, it looks like. Wow, we have fun. Hey, that was a great segment.
Yeah, I really liked them. And I really liked how they talked about, your perception of, somebody who's disabled and you're not, how you don't really know what's going on. I remember seeing this program one time where there was a bunch of students, and what they did, they made them wear these big plastic glasses, and they rubbed Vaseline all around the glasses, and then they stuck earplugs in their ears so they couldn't see, so they couldn't hear well, and then they had the Vaseline on their glasses so they really couldn't see, and they made the kids go through the whole day like that so they could really understand how it felt to be really old. You really couldn't see, you couldn't hear. I think we all need to take a little course in recognizing those things that disabled people deal with every day that we really don't have a clue about. So
Yeah, really good point. I was going to mention too that I did not know half of our federal tribes were in Alaska. I had no idea.
Alaska has a massive amount of tribal nations, and they are very it's strange how many Native nations are there, and they have such a small voice. But not at the National Congress of American Indians, where they're the majority. So I was glad to hear that they have such a strong arm there, I guess.
Yeah, it's awesome. So Wendy,
and we're complaining about gas here. It's $17 a gallon there. That's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So what do we got tonight, Wendy?
Hi everybody. My name is Hanaji Hihani. That means cares for them, and I was given that name by my Dega, Curtis. Curtis goes by Mashke Hanajinga, which means walks on white clouds. I'm a humane policy volunteer leader for the Humane Society of the United States, and I work on animal issues at the local and state level. And I talk about this every year, Robert, and I'll talk about it again today. The 4th of July is coming up.
Oh,
yep. So the 4th of July is coming up, and this is the 4th of July, a few days before and a few days, during the 4th and after the 4th, with all the fireworks and activities and things going on, is the time the most dogs and cats and pets go missing.
Ugh.
The whole year. So it's just friendly reminders of what to do, what not to do, and how to keep your pet safe. So we're just going to talk about this. But, your dog isn't the only one that gets upset by the fireworks. The panic brought by fireworks can cause wildlife moms to abandon their babies and to be disoriented to find their way home. Squirrels, small mammals, birds, and butterflies have been known to exhibit detrimental, even life-threatening behavior as a result of fireworks, while water birds and fish perish after ingesting the fireworks debris. So this summer, celebrate in a way that does no harm. Celebrate without fireworks. Now, we've been trying to do that for the last few years, Robert, and just kind of staying away and kind of like boycotting fireworks. But a animal advocate who works at a shelter posted this, and I thought that this was pretty eye-opening. She said, her name is Karen, and she wrote this. She works at a shelter. 4th of July tragedy. Every year, the days leading up to and following the 4th of July, every shelter fills up with animals frightened by fireworks. While I honestly wish fireworks were never used, that's something that will never happen. Currently, every shelter is at maximum capacity and there's no room to house any more animals. While some shelters claim to be no kill, don't be fooled. Every shelter kills. If you're one of the pet owners who, for whatever reason, refuses to put a collar on your and tags on your pet, please, beginning July 1st, put a phone number on your pet. You don't have to spend any money. Grab some tape, like masking tape or the painter's tape that come in different colors, and a Sharpie or an ink pen, and make the minimal effort to keep your pet from ending up at a shelter. Even if you think there's no way they can or will not escape your property, just do it. If you love your pets, it's your job to protect them. Finding a stray animal with a phone number makes it so simple to reunite them with their owner. Let's make a difference this holiday and keep animals from ending up in the shelter. And there was a reminder also to please spay and neuter your pet. We are drowning in homeless pets. That's what she wrote. She didn't write which shelter she was writing from, but I have a list here this is from the ASPCA, and they have a list of 4th of July safety tips that we're just going to go over really quick. And I didn't even think of this one, but never leave alcoholic drinks unattended where your pet can reach them, because alcohol beverages have the potential to poison pets. If ingested, an animal can become very intoxicated and weak, severely depressed, or could go into a coma. Death from respiratory failure is also a possibility in severe cases. So yeah, you don't want to leave your red cups with beer or alcohol around the ground there for your pet to get. Do not apply any sunscreen or insect repellent products to your pet that is not labeled specifically for animal use. This is another thing that can get really toxic. The animals can result in drooling, vomiting, diarrhea, excessive thirst, and lethargy. The misuse of insect repellent that contains DEET, the DEET, can lead to neurological problems. So another thing that I don't think I would put anything like that on our pets unless it was labeled. I've never thought about doing that, but I'm sure that people do that. They're getting eaten by the mosquitoes and
Yeah.
bugs, so they just figured, well, let me help my pet out by doing that, but it's not really helpful. Always keep matches and lighter fluid out of your pet's reach. Certain types of matches contain chlorates, which could potentially damage blood cells and result in difficulty breathing or even kidney disease in severe cases. And lighter fluid can be irritating to the skin, and if ingested can produce gastrointestinal irritation and central nervous system depression. If lighter fluid is inhaled, aspiration pneumonia and breathing problems could develop. So lots of bad things could help. Keep your pet on their normal diet. You don't want to start giving them all different kinds of foods and hot dogs and hot hamburgers, all that kind of stuff, raisins and stuff that has salt on it, whatever. Do not put glow jewelry on your pets or allow them to play with it. The glow jewelry, I think it's like those plastic things that they glow in the dark that the kids have. I guess 4th of
You can
July, a
do
lot of kids have them.
where raves have them a lot of times, and they put it in their mouths, and then they get that monkey thing at
They
rave.
get a monkey thing?
I am not familiar with that one. I've never done
Didn't you?
a rave situation.
Yeah. The luminescent substance contained in these products are not highly toxic. Excessive drooling are highly toxic.
Oh.
Excessive drooling and gastrointestinal irritation could still result from the ingestions of these things. So, citronella candles, insect coils, tiki torches, oil products out of reach. So you don't want the pet to get into that. Also, if inhaled, the oils can cause the aspiration pneumonia as well. Never use fireworks around your pets. Loud, crowded fireworks displays are not fun for pets. A lot of people think like, I have this really well-behaved dog. It doesn't need to be on a leash. I'm going to take them to the parade, or I'm going to take them out to a crowded area and see the fireworks. And even the most well-behaved pets will get startled and frightened and take off, and they'll just bolt and run. So you just want to really be careful about doing that.
Wow, great, Wendy. And also was thinking about our relatives that were in war that have
PTSD. Yes, Robert. Thank you for bringing that up. I usually always do bring that up every year too. So a lot of people who have PTSD, those fireworks are really scary for them too.
Hey, I want to thank our guest, Ogimaa here in studio, Wendy at Studio B. We need to resist, divest, join a group, run for office. We're still here. We are the 7th generation.
Free Leonard Peltier. Stop line 3. Please get vaccinated.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing